If you need immediate help, please call the National Substance Abuse and Mental Health Hotline at 1-800-662-HELP.
Bottle of wine, fruit of the vine. When you gonna let me get sober? Let me go home and start over.
Welcome to Clean and Sober Radio. Brought to you in part by Jefferson University Hospitals and Thomas Jefferson University, providing excellent clinical and compassionate care in the Philadelphia region. A proven leader in healthcare and education since 1825. And now, here are your hosts, Gary Hendler and Mark Sigmund.
Hey, hi, everybody, and thanks for joining us, Clean and Sober Radio. Clean and Sober Radio features real people with real stories about addiction to drugs and alcohol. Mark Sigmund, what do you have this week in recovery news?
We got some sad news. The Coast Guard cutter Waish has reported a missing crewman by the name of crewman Seaman Brian Lee of Rancho Cordova, California. He went missing Tuesday while conducting drug patrolling about 300 nautical miles south of Mexico, right near the coast of Guatemala. What they basically did a search and rescue of C-130 aircrafts, the 39th Rescue Station for the Air Force, Customs and Border Patrol, Mexican Navy. They were out there searching for people bringing drugs into America, and this guy must have either fallen off the ship or who knows what happened, but he disappeared.
I mean, are you saying that something is suspicious with this or what?
So they're not saying anything suspicious, but nobody knows. Nobody knows what happened. Did this guy just fall off? Did somebody push him off? Could have, the thing is, this ship came back with $275 million worth of confiscated cocaine. So you wonder, was he shot and fell overboard? They have no idea, but it was a giant search and rescue. The Mexican Navy actually stepped in and helped search for this guy.
When did this happen?
This happened Tuesday was when he was reported missing. Yes. And then, they came back to port. They're reporting this whole thing, and it's really a sad story. And it's just another testament to how we're fighting drugs and we're fighting smuggling. And it's not just taking users' lives, it's taking the people that are trying to fight this thing.
Right. Okay, I hope they find, well, I guess they'd be finding his body.
Yeah, they searched 19,000 square miles, drones, everything, and there's no sign of this guy, Gary.
A shame. That's a shame. Okay, I'm really excited about today's
Me
show.
too.
Listen, Mark Stein is our guest today, and Mark is an American keyboardist, composer, arranger. He's the founding member of the psychedelic rock group Vanilla Fudge. And I got to tell you, if you've never heard of Mark Stein and you've never heard of Vanilla Fudge, there's two answers. Either you weren't born or you were stoned out of your mind during the 60s. I was the second part. And you weren't born,
I
right?
wasn't born, but I've heard his songs over and over again.
And this is going to be the third time he comes on. So
Yes.
Let's do this. We're going to take a break. And when we come back, Mark Stein will be our guest. We'll be right back.
This is Clean and Sober Radio.
A cancer diagnosis can knock the wind out of you. The Sidney Kimmel Cancer Center at Abington Jefferson Health can help. Our brand new Asplund Cancer Pavilion brings you 86,000 square feet of cancer-fighting science for truly comprehensive care. Backed by the strength of an NCI-designated cancer center. Call 1-800-JEFF now. The Sidney Kimmel Cancer Center at Abington Jefferson Health. The power to out-science cancer.
Hey, this is Mark Stein from the classic rock band Vanilla Fudge. Keep on rocking, and good luck to everybody, and all the best.
888-728-9941. This is Clean and Sober Radio.
Okay, we're back. Hey, Mark, how are you, buddy? Thanks for joining us.
Hey, man, good to be here, man. How you doing?
I'm good. I know we were going back and forth for a while, and you've been really busy, and we're really glad that you're back on here, because when I put that promo out last night, we got, a huge, huge response from our audience.
Cool.
Because you are cool.
That's awesome to hear, man.
I'm going to tell you, the last time I actually saw you, you were playing with a Dave Mason in New Jersey.
Right.
And I want to tell you something. It really was your show, man, because you were awesome, man. It was great. It was so great. I sent you a text message after, and you probably were like, "Who is this nutcase?" Right?
No, I remember that. I really appreciated that. Yeah, it's a really talented band, and David's doing his thing. He's still he's still great, and it's a lot of fun playing with this tour. So
yeah,
it's been real cool. So.
I had his wife on the show. I think the day before that concert. She's a very nice lady, also. So
Winifred?
Yeah.
Yeah, she's great.
Yeah, and he was listening in the background. I think that's what she told me.
Yeah, probably.
So I'm here. My co-host Mark Sigmund's here, and you'll give us as much time as you can give us this afternoon. Whatever you say is cool. You grew up in Bayonne, New Jersey.
I did.
And you refer to that area as the Jersey side of New York City. Is that correct?
Yeah, right. Yeah, it was the Jersey side of New York. I mean, when I was a kid, I remember getting on the turnpike going through the Holland Tunnel, which took about probably 10 or 15 minutes, and we were in Midtown Manhattan. So I always kind of felt that way,
Right. So, okay, let's start back. What kind of childhood did you have? And do you have any siblings? And give us just a little, let everybody know, because I think people think that famous people such as yourself aren't real people,
Oh, we're real people. Believe me, we're more than real people. You've been in this business all your life. You learn to be a really real, so.
But isn't there is there a pecking order? I mean, so many people would like to be talking with you now or having a meal now, and I'm sure there are artists that you would like to be hanging out with,
Yeah.
Name one.
Yeah, well, I mean, I grew up, a Jewish kid in Bayonne, Jersey City. I grew up. I had the Orthodox grandparents.
Wow.
They wanted me to be. They wanted me to. My grandfather, wanted me a cantor. He wanted me to be a cantor.
Okay, that would go. Okay, musical.
Yeah, but you know what? I got the rock and roll bug really bit me when I was really young. Because my dad wanted me to be like Myron Florin. He used to watch the Lawrence Welk show. We saw the accordion, Myron Florin and Dick Contino.
Yes.
They were great accordion players. And, a lot of Jewish kids would, if you're into music, they wanted you to, the parents wanted you to play accordion. So I did.
Yeah.
And I got into it for a while, but then I got bit by the rock and roll. My dad had me audition for the Ted Mack Aaron. What was it, Ted Mack?
Ted Mack.
Amateur Hour?
Amateur Hour, yeah.
Yeah, so I just remember, I remember seeing this rock and roll band. I think I was 11 or 10 years old for the first time. And it blew my mind. It was like guys in red plaid suits with, sunglasses on and slick back Brylcreem pompadour hair. And I think they were playing like Night Train and all this rock music with the sax. Just the whole thing just really caught me.
You remember Joe
Bennett
and the Sparkle
right there
Tones?
with rock and roll. Say what?
Do you remember Joe Bennett and the Sparkle Tones? Black Slacks?
I don't.
No?
Oh, I remember Black Slacks.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Exactly. So wait a minute. Didn't you realize that playing an accordion you couldn't get girls?
I did realize, and that's really the real reason I changed. No. But seriously, I actually started taking up the guitar at that time. I started. My friend of mine had a guitar that lived down the block, and I started getting into Buddy Holly and the Big Bopper, and all when the music died. It died that day. But I was into all that rockabilly stuff. So.
Were you in a concert hall or something, and you saw an old organ, and you jumped on it?
Well, what happened was I had a band in high school called Dynamics, and we were playing. That's funny. Yeah, we were playing at a party at Yale University, and at the time I was playing rhythm guitar, and there was like an old electric organ over to the side of the stage, and from the accordion, I just had some keyboard knowledge, obviously, so I jumped on it. And everybody freaked out, and I said, "Forget about the guitar, man. That keyboard thing sounds, great." So that was the beginning of, of what happened. So
now, is it true? Did you have a record out at age 11?
I did.
How did that happen?
Well, when I was playing guitar, my dad got me into this show. This show in New York had me audition for this rock and roll show, and what happened was there was a cat there by the name of Neil Scott.
Mm-hmm.
I think he was about 17 years old, and he had a hit record out too called Barbie, I think, at the time.
Mm-hmm.
Talking about 1958, man. Wow.
Wow.
Yeah, right?
Yeah.
Unbelievable.
Yeah, 58.
So he was like the MC of the show, and he was this great dude, and he wanted to, he really took a liking to me, and he wanted to take me in the studio, and he wrote this song for me. He wrote a song called Give Me a Chance.
Yes.
And I went in with this rockabilly trio that he put together, and we went in and we recorded it. And before too long, I had a record out, and I was on this show in Washington, D.C. I think it was 1958 or 59, and amazingly, I was on the show with Sam Cooke.
Oh, wow.
And what's his face? Donka Shane, the big Vegas dude.
Oh, Duncan Shane. Oh, my God. Wait, who was?
Yeah.
Oh, jeez.
I
Oh,
know. I'm getting old.
Wait, Duncan Shane. That baby face.
Yeah, the
Wayne
baby
Newton.
face.
Wayne Newton.
Wayne Newton. Yeah, it was Wayne Newton and Sam Cooke. And it was, I mean, it was pretty amazing in retrospect.
But what did what about your mother? Did she think something weird was going on with this older guy and you're 11 years old and he's keeping you out late at night and stuff like that?
Well, the older guy was my father.
Oh, it was your father.
He was the one that was keeping me. He was like my first agent. He was the one that was pushing me at an early age to get out there.
Was your mother upset?
She was upset because I was only in the 7th grade. I used to come home at like 2 or 3 in the morning, and she'd be really pissed off.
Did your grades fall apart at that point, or how'd you do in school?
Not great, because my mind was always on music. I got through it, but I was into music since I was like 5, 6 years old. I was always into it, and but the main point I'm trying to make here is that guy Neil Scott.
Yeah.
Actually, was a guy that became the #1 promotion man for Cameo Records, and he's
Cameo Parkway in Philly.
Right, he's the one that brought it to #1. 96 Tears, Question Mark and
the Mysterians. Yeah.
But the guy actually ultimately became Neil Bogart.
Oh,
he was the one that.
Okay.
That was Neil Scott became Neil Bogart, the biggest independent. CEO star, and he launched Donna Summer.
Yep.
He started her career and Kiss and YMCA dudes.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
That was him on Casablanca Records. So he was a big deal in LA. Yeah.
Wow.
So a lot of history there.
So the origin of the name Vanilla Fudge, as I read about, there was a woman named Dee Dee who worked at Page 2 on Long Island. Her grandfather nicknamed her Vanilla Fudge.
Yeah, it was really ironic.
Well, what did you start calling her, Vanilla Fudge?
Well, we were the Pigeons before Vanilla Fudge.
Okay,
and
yes.
that name was given to us by a cat named Jeff Barry, who was a really successful songwriter and producer, and he wrote a lot of the late '50s girl groups hits. And he got together with us by chance once and wanted us to. He wanted to handle us.
Yeah.
So anyway, he got together with us a few times, and it didn't work out. But anyway, to fast forward, when the Pigeons started to change their style from a top 40 group to a band that started creating reimagined versions of other people's songs with a thing we called symphonic rock.
Mm-hmm.
Shadow Martin took us into the studio after he came to our rehearsal and flipped out. And we recorded "You Keep Me Hanging On" in one take in mono.
One take.
One take. That's one take, man. That's how tight that band was. And still is, actually.
So, and that song was recorded a year after the Supremes had a hit with it in '66.
I believe so. Yeah. So when Ahmet Ertegun in Atlantic heard it, he flipped out and wanted to sign us right away. But he said, you got to get a stronger name than the Pigeons, And we agreed, and we were rehearsing at our manager's club, the Action House out in Long Island.
Yeah.
And like you were mentioning, this girl, her name was Dee Dee. I don't remember, but she was from a band. And she said she knew we were looking for a new name, and she did say, "Why don't you call yourselves Vanilla Fudge?" Because my grandfather used to call me like I say, he used to so much ice cream, you know. But there's something about the sound of it really rang
Vanilla
true
Fudge.
to us, so
Yeah.
we liked it. But Ahmed Erdogan didn't like the name at all. He said it's never going to fly. But we really liked it, and it stuck. And then once we became popular, you know, it made a lot of sense because Vanilla Fudge was white dudes playing
Soul
black music
Yeah.
with a psychedelic twist. So that was that's the legend behind it. But
And you're really a lot of your music is soulful. You know, the stuff you took off the Supremes, and it's like it's rock, but it has soul incorporated in it. And I'm just wondering, when you were growing up, were you more attracted to black artists than the white artists?
Yeah, when I was a big Aretha Franklin fan, and you know, all the Stack stuff, Sam and Dave, and the Impressions, and we all were. We loved, you know, R&B.
Yeah.
You know, and we loved the British invasion. We loved the Beatles. We loved. Well, I did. You know, loved Dave Clark 5 and all that stuff, and the Beatles, and you know, and the Animals.
Yeah, British invasion stuff.
We used to listen to that all the time.
So okay, so
who didn't? You know.
Yeah, I know. Look, my favorite artist as a little boy was James Brown, and still is. I mean, to me, there's nothing like that. You know, nothing. All right, so you make this. How old were you when you made when you put down the "You Keep Me Hanging On"?
I think I was 19.
19 with a major hit record.
Well, I was 20, but I was old by the time it happened. I was 20.
Oh, you were. You were 20.
Yeah.
So like, I remember we had Dion on here, and I said to him, "Tell me what the most exciting thing of your whole career was," and he said, "In my convertible, listening on the radio, and my song came on." And you had a similar experience, didn't you?
Yeah, I mean that's for an artist. I mean it's. You know, it's an incredible feeling. Yeah, I mean, I remember when Keep Me Hanging On, the edited version came on the radio. It started, you know, blasting all over the place on WMCA and WABC, you know, all the major stations out there, and it was really cool. I remember riding down the block and had the window open. You'd see other people had the radio on and heard me and the Fudge on the radio, and I'd be screaming out the window, "That's me! That's my band!" They'd look at me like I was insane.
Wait! Weren't you going over the Verrazano Bridge, and these girls were in the car next to you?
I was,
and you said, "That's me," and they were looking at you like you were full of it, man. You know?
That's right. That's a true story. Yeah, I used to do that all the time. It's crazy, right?
Yeah, it's crazy. Hey,
it's pretty wild.
If you're just joining us, we're talking to Mark Stein from Vanilla Fudge. If you want to give him a call, and talk to him, it's a great opportunity. 1-888-728-9941. That's 1-888-728-9941, man. But I just can't imagine what it would feel like to have a record out and you're driving in the car. It's summer. The windows are down. The top's down. These girls are next to you. And they're going on, and you're going, "Yeah, that's me." And they're going, "Yeah, yeah, right." They're going like this. They're going like this.
I would play it like funny. 1,000 times. Huh? I would play it like 1,000 times. Like every time I passed a bunch of girls, I would play the tape.
Hey, listen, we could do that now, Mark. Well, they would know. We're
not
Mark
I mean,
Stein.
Back in those days, man, we were like. The Fudge was like the darling of underground radio, like, you know, WNEW and New York, Scott Muni and Allison Steele, and, you know, all the major underground stations in New York, San Francisco, LA, Chicago. I mean, they used to play the whole side of the first Vanilla Fudge album, like nonstop, all the way through it, at any intermissions. It was pretty wild. Really, in those days, you just couldn't believe that was happening, but it happened.
You also covered some other major acts. You did Junior Walker and the All-Stars, Shotgun.
Yeah, we did Shotgun. We actually did that on the Ed Sullivan show.
Yeah, I know. I actually watched it today. You know that?
Really?
Yeah, I did. I try to be prepared. You know, it doesn't sound like I'm prepared, but I try to be. You know.
Yeah. You got to get prepared. You really have to, you know, like seriously what you're doing. You know?
Yeah, yeah. I can't. It's like when you do you can't just like space out when you're doing a show and just like
We just did a couple of shows. We just played in Boca Raton.
Oh, did you?
That's awesome.
We did two nights in Boca. Yeah, and it was great because we hadn't played in a while, and it was sold out for 2 nights and pretty nuts. Yeah.
Well, you're going to be around here,
cool.
around Philly, on the 26th of February in Sellersville, aren't you?
Yeah, we're gonna do the Sellersville Theater. I can't wait. I love that venue, man.
All right, well, I'm coming to that.
It's gonna be good.
I'll get to meet you backstage, or what? How do we do this?
Yeah, absolutely. Just,
I'll call you a couple of days beforehand.
Yeah, please do that.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. So, okay, let's see. So you're just a little history on your record. You Keep Me Hanging On. It was your first single. It was recorded on Atco Records. It was released June of 1967.
That's true.
The single, the 45 song, was 2 minutes and 59 seconds. So you got it under 3 minutes. That was good. And the LP was 7 minutes and 26 seconds. And you were number 6 on Billboard's Hot 100 in 1967.
No, the album was.
I mean the album. Yeah, that's what I actually. Yes, the album. Right.
Yeah, but it's ironic because when that single first came out, it died an early death, and we thought we were finished.
Really?
I think it went up to number 80, and it fell off the charts. I remember we were on the road when we started playing, and we thought that was the end already, you know.
Yeah.
But as time went on, the album was getting so much airplay that I remember it jumped like 50 points in Billboard when we were on the West Coast. I remember, and it went all the way to 33 with a bullet, and all of a sudden, man, that was the beginning of an incredible, glorious time. But in terms of You Keep Me Hanging On, they re-released the single probably over a year later, and it climbed to the top 10 because they said it was ahead of its time when it was first put out. So
was the album? Was the album version a little different?
Well, the album version was the whole symphonic arrangement.
Right. Was it slowed down at all, or no?
What, from the Supremes version?
No, from your single.
No, it wasn't slowed down. It was just edited.
It just edited. Okay.
Yeah, it was just edited. I think Arif Martin, who the brilliant producer and studio dude for Atlantic, he did the editing on that. Did a really cool job.
Where was that recorded?
Together. Yeah.
Where'd you do that? The single.
We did. Well, the album, the album track, like I told you, the one take album track was done in New York City at a studio called Mirror Sound. Midtown Manhattan. Yeah.
And what did Atco pay for the session and everything? Is that how it worked?
No, we went in and just recorded it, and it was after they heard it that they signed the band.
Yeah, I guess.
Shadow Morton took us into the studio and took the track over to Atlantic, like I had mentioned, and I'm freaked out, and then they signed the band. Yeah.
You never met Diana Ross, did you?
I never met Diana Ross. Nope.
Yeah, I would think she would have called you to thank you for making her money.
Yeah. So who are the other Supremes? Can you mention the other 2 Supremes?
Yeah. Mary Wilson.
Right.
You became friendly with her, didn't you?
I became real friendly with her. Yeah, I met her at the American Music Awards in the 80s, and we were talking, and we were talking about, the way we did that song and all, and it was pretty cool. And at the time, I said, "What are you doing?" She said, "I'm not doing anything right now. I'm trying to get back into the business,
Yeah.
And it was really weird. And then before you knew it, I remember she had the Mary Wilson show, and she was on the road and doing great. I always loved Mary Wilson. She was so cool.
Was the third Supreme? Was it Florence Ballard or something?
Yeah. Florence Ballard, right?
Everybody in the studio is looking at me like, "How'd you pull that out of your head?"
Yeah, you did a good job. Yeah.
Thank you very much. And I'm not reading it. I'm not reading you, Mark. Okay. All right. Listen, Mark, stay put. We have to take a break, And hang with us, and we'll be right back with Mark Stein from Vanilla Fudge.
This is Clean and Radio.
A cancer diagnosis can knock the wind out of you. The Sidney Kimmel Cancer Center at Abington Jefferson Health can help. Our brand new Asplund Cancer Pavilion brings you 86,000 square feet of cancer-fighting science for truly comprehensive care. Backed by the strength of an NCI-designated cancer center. Call 1-800-JEFF now. The Sidney Kimmel Cancer Center at Abington Jefferson Health. The power to out-science cancer.
Hi, this is Judy Collins, and I listen to Clean and Sober Radio.
888-728-9941. This is Clean and Sober Radio.
Set me free, what's on your babe?
Hey, we're back, Clean and Sober Radio, with Mark Stein. So, let's see what we're doing here. Let's talk a little bit about drug abuse, if we can. I know you've been sober for well over a century. I mean, well over.
Oh my God!
No, not a century. No. You'd be no. I meant to say 50 years.
I know what you meant to say.
What's that? Half a century?
At least, way more than that. No, I gave that crap up a long time. I was still a kid.
You were a speed freak, weren't you?
Yeah, I got addicted to diet pills because I wanted to be a skinny rock pop star, you know.
Yeah.
And I always had a problem with my weight, so I kind of got addicted. It wasn't meant to get high from it. I just wanted to lose weight, and then what happens with that stuff. It's a tough addiction. But yeah, I did have a problem with that, and thank God I got rid of that when I was I don't know, like 24 or something, 25.
So was it hard? After you got rid of it, even though you didn't have a long history, was it hard to go back on stage sober?
No, actually, it was great. It was the natural energy of rock and roll is really where it's at, man.
Yeah.
To be honest.
You and Dion, I think, probably have the longest sobriety of any artist in the world. But two of you.
Oh, cool. Well, that's where you got your century from.
But I was thinking of both of you. Exactly. So, no Quaaludes, Mark? No?
Nah, I was never much of a down freak, to be honest,
Well, I know you did.
No.
I know one thing. I know you took Quaaludes on an airline flight to Australia.
Oh, yeah, you had to bring that up. Well, that's true. That was in 77, the tour manager. Right, I was doing a Welcome to My Nightmare tour with Alice Cooper in the Southern Hemisphere.
Oh, really?
And and it was such a ridiculously long journey that they were giving Quaaludes out so we could fall asleep,
I was sitting next to you. You don't remember?
Oh, it was a pretty good Quaalude.
Yeah, they were good.
I was just sitting here trying to figure out how Gary knew this. I mean,
I was sitting next to him. Look, it's like I said to Judy Collins, hey, we would have been great friends, Judy, in like 1968. And she said, no, we wouldn't have.
Yeah.
I'm
that's a part of my distant, deep, dark past, and I'm so glad that's way, way behind me. And
we're all lucky guys, aren't
survived we? Survived all that, yeah.
We're lucky. We are real lucky.
How did you, Mark, you get to that point where you were like, I got to stop this? Was it like over time, or did you hit a kind of a bottom?
What happened was my I've been married to Patty now we've been together like 53 years, okay?
Yeah.
My wife, and it actually happened that day in Long Island in the condo. She caught me, again, I was probably about 23 or 24, and she caught me, with some of that stuff, and she just like stormed out of the house and said, I'm leaving you unless you, you got to get rid of this shit right now, otherwise I'm not coming back,
Yeah.
And, my heart and soul knew what she was saying was all good. And that was the day that I just stopped right then and there, because of her influence. So she really had a lot to do with saving me.
A lot of times you hear that about either girlfriends or newly, married wives, and who give an ultimatum, said, "I'm not living like this, man. You got to stop it."
Well, that's what happened.
Yeah.
That's a true story.
Yeah.
And, well, you know what, man? It really wasn't that difficult because I just hated myself.
Mm-hmm.
I hated myself for being addicted to that stuff because it made me an animal. When you start coming down from that stuff.
Yeah.
Anybody that's been involved in any of that knows exactly what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
It just makes you a terrible person.
Do you think the music business had something to do with it? Getting hooked?
Well, everybody was doing drugs, man. In the late 60s, it was a breeding ground for adventure.
Yeah.
Yeah, everybody was, I don't think many people were straight in those days. So,
Not the people we hung around with.
Yeah, it was just pot and speed and acid, and that was pretty much what was going on in those days.
But Mark, do you know there were people who weren't using drugs and alcohol like we were? I always thought everybody did, but not true.
Yeah. Well, they were the smart ones,
And boring.
And we were the lucky ones.
Yeah, but they were boring.
Yeah.
Yeah,
well, I guess, to us at the time, they probably were boring.
Yeah, exactly.
So,
So let's see. So you were inducted into the Long Island Music Hall of Fame in October of '06 with Billy Joel and Joan Jett. The Rascals, Felix Calveri with the Rascals.
Felix. Yeah.
Why was Joan Jett inducted into the Long Island Music Hall of Fame?
Oh, I don't know. That's a good question.
Because she is from my neighborhood outside of Philadelphia.
Well, I don't know. I think a lot of her breeding grounds probably was in Long Island. I was assuming.
Probably.
I really don't know.
Probably.
I really don't know. But
let me just make this little announcement. So people, Mark, people are either listening to us on the radio or all sorts of devices, or they're actually watching us. We are streaming live right now on Facebook. And so people are watching us do the show, and we like to mention some of these people who are watching. Kathy Wolf Collin is watching. Tomlin Upchurch is watching. Debbie Reynolds. Stephen Sussman is watching.
Debbie Reynolds.
Yeah, Debbie Reynolds. Yeah, probably not the one we're thinking of, right?
Oh, it's not? Okay.
Yeah.
Maybe it's her daughter.
Yeah, we also have a lady named, I think, Linda Lennon, who claims she's John Lennon's sister, but whatever. Stephen Sussman from West Palm Beach, Florida. Kathy Wolf Cohen is from Coral Springs, Florida, celebrating 20 years of sobriety today.
Amazing.
Awesome. Congratulations.
It's great news.
C. Ruger is watching. Let's see. Linda Harris, Monica Larson, Eddie Kilgore, Eddie K. Oh, Kathy Lennon. That's who it is. Kathy Lennon is watching us right now. I wish I knew she had a British accent. I mean, I don't know. Kevin Heyer. Let's see. Keith Hornug. Matthew Wise. Let's see. Linda Harris says, I think for those in early recovery, the best secret is to keep active in meetings and events. This really opened my eyes to get clean and sober. Anyway, there's a lot more people. I can't get to everybody right now. Anyway, so there's a lot of people watching. Listen, audience, here's your chance. 1-888-728-9941. Don't be a chicken. Call into the show right now.
And, Mark, I have a question for you. I was curious about this. It's so how did the band become psychedelic? Yeah, I always understood, and again, I was born in '75, so I missed this whole thing, which I wish I didn't miss.
Mark, my Mark can't even name all the Beatles. Okay, there you go.
Well, and Mark, by the way, we have a lot in common. I'm not a music star, but we do have the same birthday, March 11th. So we're both
cool.
We're both Pisces. But my question,
man, we got one coming up pretty soon.
Yes, we do. My question is how did you guys go in the psychedelic direction? I always think of San Francisco, the 60s, the Grateful Dead, Janis Joplin. How did it make its way out to you guys, the psychedelic influence in your music?
Well, we were one of a group of bands on Long Island that were reimagining other people's songs, you know. I always talk about this. Actually, I did Cousin Brucey's show a few weeks ago, and he asked me the same question. There was a band called the Vagrants, you know, in the late 60s in Long Island. That was the first band that I ever saw taking songs, you know, like If I Was a Carpenter and Exodus and even Satisfaction, all the time, never slowing them down and putting all this drama and dynamics into it. And it just totally blew my mind, you know, when I was a teenager. And when I saw that approach to music, that just lit a fire in my soul. That's what I want to do. I want to do that, man. It's like incredible. So that's how it all started, and just started coming up with these reimagined approaches to all the songs that were ultimately on our first album, like Sonny and Cher's Bang Bang and the Beatles, you know, Eleanor Rigby and, you know, all these slowed down symphonic versions we did. It was the critics that called us psychedelic. We had nothing to do with that. We branded ourselves as psychedelic rock. Symphonic rock, and it was the critics after we became popular that called us symphonic psychedelic rock. So okay, that was a prevalent term in the late 60s. So there you go.
Mark, what artists that you have can you think of that you would have loved to have played with that you didn't?
I played with a lot of people. I don't know. It's a good question.
Did you ever meet the Beatles?
I met. I would love to play with the Beatles.
Yeah, I guess
you know what? The only Beatle I actually met was Ringo Starr. In the mid '70s, I was playing with a guitar player by the name of Tommy Bolin, who was in Deep Purple for a short time.
Yeah. And
anybody knows about recovery, I wish he would have recovered, but he didn't. Mm-hmm. He was gone at the age of 25. As rock aficionados know that. Anyway, we were at a Bad Company party in L.A., and Ringo happened to be there, and that's when I met Ringo that night, you know. And but I know George Harrison was a big fan of the Fudge. He used to get a kick out of Eleanor Rigby and Ticket to Ride, and Ringo thought we were like madmen. I know that.
Really? Did he really?
Yeah, no, it was in the press. He thought the Vanilla Fudge were like madmen for the way we approached, you know, our music. But I took that as a compliment, you know.
Sure.
Yeah.
Elvis Presley was your guy, right?
Was my guy?
Well,
when I saw him on the Ed Sullivan show, it was like, forget about it. Like, all the kids from my era that saw him, you know, forget about it. It was amazing how they wouldn't shoot him from the chest down.
Yeah, no, chest up.
The world was in those days.
Chest up, right?
Chest up, yeah. Chest up. Forgive me. Yeah, right.
Why is that?
Because the gyrations of his body was too sexual.
Really?
Right.
Yeah.
It was just right. Yeah.
Wow.
That's how innocent and naive the world was at one time in the 50s, dude. You know.
Wow, I'm glad I was born in 1975.
No, I wish we could go back to the 50s to tell you the truth.
Did you ever meet Jerry Garcia?
Never met him.
Never met him. Okay. I ask a lot of people that question, by the way, Mark, when they're on the radio.
Yeah. No, I never really, never had really too many relationships with the San Francisco cats. I knew Janis Joplin pretty well.
Oh, wow. Cool.
Yeah.
What was she like?
She was crazy. She was a crazy woman. She was like drunk a lot, did a lot of stuff, you know.
Yeah.
Actually, at the Palm Beach Rock Festival, I guess that was '69. She jumped up on stage during our show with Johnny Winter and gave everybody Southern Comfort to drink and wanted us all jam, and we jammed the blues right in the middle of our show with Janice and Johnny Winter.
Wow.
That was pretty wild. I can't believe nobody took any video of that. That would have been what a moment in classic rock. Crazy.
Mark, did you ever think like when you're on stage with really famous people, and in your head you're going like, wow, what am I doing here? This is unbelievable. You know? That kind of...
Yeah.
surreal experiences, I guess, at first, and then it became commonplace for you.
No, it never became common. I've always been a fan. I'm still that way. In fact, I did a tour with Dave Mason last summer. We opened for the Beach Boys, about 12, 15 shows. And I was just, the soundtrack of my adolescence. And I was just so excited to meet and hang out with Mike Love and Bruce Johnson and the band, and they were great. And it was such a positive vibe. I mean, I'm still that way.
That's
I
nice.
still get that way.
Who else was it?
Yeah,
Was Mike Love there or no? There's been conflict with all those guys, isn't there?
Well, no, Mike Love. Yeah, Mike Love is there. Yeah, it's Mike Love and Bruce Johnston. Those are the two cats from way back.
No more Wilsons, right?
No more Wilsons. No.
They were the
there
big.
was, but unfortunately,
Wilsons.
The Wilsons were the big starters.
Well,
of it, or?
they were all cousins except for one of them.
Oh, okay.
But it was Carl, Brian, and Dennis. Dennis drowned. He fell off a boat or something like that. And Carl died of cancer, and Brian has had mental issues, severe. In fact, I think it's so bad now that somebody handles all of his affairs.
I heard a lot of stories about him.
Poor guy.
Yeah, he's had a rough road there, for sure, but an incredible talent. I mean, amazing stuff came out of that heart and soul of his, I'll tell you.
Oh, a genius, right?
Yeah. Absolutely, no question. Mark,
during the week, we get people sending us messages. I'm going to read a couple of them right now. Joanna B. from Manhattan. I can remember loving listening to Vanilla Fudge, Cream, Derek and the Dominoes, Iron Butterfly, Blind Faith, etc. What a great time in music history. Glad that Mark is doing so well. That's nice.
That's awesome. Thank you so much.
Yeah, that's a nice...
Yeah. Fantastic.
Silvio G. from Brooklyn, New York. The show is awesome, educational, and entertaining. One day at a time.
Ain't that the truth?
That's the truth, man.
Ain't that the truth, man? One day at a time. That's it.
Yeah. Here's a question for you, Mark Stein. From Winston C. from West Palm Beach, Florida, to Mark Stein. Was it hard at first to perform on stage sober? That's actually what I asked you, That was his question.
Well, I always started out sober.
Yeah.
And Then I took a vacation for a while, and then when I got off the vacation, it was awesome. I've been sober on stage since for the last half century, pretty much.
It doesn't feel like. I mean, for me, it's 42 years, less than you, but sometimes it feels like it was another world, so far long ago. But I never think, well, now I can use, of course, but. It was really it was another person, man. You know what I mean?
Definitely, yeah. Yeah, drugs take away your true personality. It's.
So let me ask you. So how was your bar mitzvah?
How was my bar mitzvah?
Yeah, you had a bar mitzvah.
Well, I did,
yeah.
And I actually. I got together with a tutor.
Yeah, me too. So did I.
Did you? Yeah.
We didn't belong anywhere.
Well, my grandfather was supremely Orthodox. He was president of all the Hebrew schools in Hudson County and all the shuls. And I basically did it out of respect for him because, I was in the middle of rock and roll and my bar mitzvah.
Right.
So anyway, I went to a tutor, and I actually did everything that the rabbi would do. Most kids would just do a short religious ceremony, but I did everything right from the beginning. They call them the brachas, the prayers, the holding of the Torah.
For real?
I did it all.
Did you sing?
Yeah, I did it all. I sang. During the ceremony.
Yeah.
Like I said, I was kind of like the cantor and the whole 9 yards. In a couple of hours, I really studied hard for that. I made everybody in my family proud, and then the day that was over, I kind of had that in my rearview mirror.
Yeah, that was it, right? That was it.
That was pretty much it for me, and it was back to rock and roll. You know.
Yep, absolutely. So, hey, Mark, thanks again for joining us today.
Yeah, thank you, Mark.
Really wonderful. You're a great guy. I can't wait to meet you in Sellersville, and I'll call you a couple days beforehand to set that up. And
That sounds great. Yeah, and be looking for the Dave Mason tour also.
Yeah.
Which is going to be coming the end of March all the way through the fall.
So where
at
are
a
they gonna
city
be
and a town near you, all over the country. We're going to be out there, and it's going to be a great show.
All right. Definitely. I'll definitely be there. All right. Listen, brother, thanks so much. Mark Stein of Vanilla Fudge.
Thanks, Mark.
Was our guest, and really appreciate it. God bless you.
No, you got it, man. Anytime. All the best.
Yeah,
thanks, man. Take care.
All right.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
He's good, isn't he?
This is Clean and Sober Radio.
A cancer diagnosis can knock the wind out of you. The Sidney Kimmel Cancer Center at Abington Jefferson Health can help. Our brand new Asplund Cancer Pavilion brings you 86,000 square feet of cancer-fighting science for truly comprehensive care. Backed by the strength of an NCI-designated cancer center. Call 1-800-JEFF now. The Sidney Kimmel Cancer Center at Abington Jefferson Health. The power to out-science cancer.
What's happening? Brandon Novak here from Those Movies Jacks, or author of that addiction memoir, Dream Seller. Do me a favor and tune into Clean and Sober Radio with Gary Hendler.
888-728-9941. This is Clean and Sober Radio.
Hey, we're back.
Yes,
At
we
least
are.
That's what Tyler's telling us. We're back.
In the bubble.
In the bubble. He's a good guest.
He really is. And, I found it so interesting, just his whole story of, being on the East Coast and this whole style of music that he was running with. It really wasn't very prevalent out here, right? It was mostly.
No, it was. I'm going to tell you something. That kind of music, his action music, was the stuff you got stoned on. With the black, that was the black lights, the strobe lights. It was acid. It was magic mushrooms. It was that stuff.
It was euphoric recall right there, right?
Oh, yeah.
I mean.
Yeah, my fingers are getting numb.
Oh, no. I'm having a flashback.
A flashback.
Yeah.
So he, it was actually a cover band.
Really?
They covered so many songs. Oh, yeah.
Then just got famous that way, I guess,
Yeah.
huh?
Yeah.
Got famous that way.
He's an incredible musician. Really incredible.
Yeah, and he plays multiple instruments, right?
Yeah.
You were asking about the accordion. I didn't get that. What was?
His father gave him an accordion when he was a little boy.
Okay, yeah.
Imagine playing accordion. And then I guess, and then he went to guitar.
Mm-hmm.
And then he saw this, as you know, this Hammond B3 organ or whatever. And he picked it up, and then he started. That was his thing, man.
So that was his main thing, was the organ.
Oh, yeah. Oh,
Gotcha.
Yeah. Yes. I don't want to miss some people that we are watching this today.
And it was interesting that, speed was such a big thing back then. Diet pills. And didn't a lot of wives and stuff that were staying at home, they would take these. Now, they were basically just amphetamines, right? I mean, they were just taking amphetamines.
There were words Black Beauties.
Yeah.
Biphetamine 20s. I used to like the speed with the Quaaludes, up and down.
Yeah, I got you. I got
Did
you.
you feel it?
Well, I've never done Quaaludes. So again, they were gone by the time I was of age, which is probably a good thing, Gary. But
and Brad's here watching us and going,
yeah,
what are they talking? How nuts can you be?
I mean, he was talking about too, kind of that bottom of coming off speed. And, I've had clients, they talk about coming off meth, for instance, and they talk about being in a dark cave and sleeping for sometimes 2 days, when they're coming down from meth and things. And I think that's kind of what he was alluding to when he was saying he felt like a monster when he was coming down.
That's what he was alluding to.
Yes.
Right?
I get the joke, Gary. I get the joke. Yes.
Hey, listen, Ted Klotz is watching us right now. What's the word for addicts needing treatment? Did Trump shut those programs down? Okay, let's not go there.
Yes, and I have not heard of programs shutting down.
Judge Maddox is under the weather today, but I'm glad to be listening.
From a lot going around.
Hey, our old buddy Fred Martin is watching. Yo, Fred, how are you? Carlos Ricardo. Haven't heard from Carlos in a while. Fred, I hope you feel better, man. Yeah.
Yeah, it was a good interview. I mean, it was a good interview. It's just really, really. How about when he was talking about Janis Joplin? About Janis Joplin coming up on stage. And for people that aren't, pretty much everybody's familiar with Janis Joplin, but what a legend blues singer.
And Mark, who did you ask him if he ever met? I can't remember.
Jerry Garcia.
Which we started cracking up.
I know
when
you did. And I think at one point for listeners, I was told not to ask that question anymore because every certain person that came on, I was asking them that.
Just for Mark was asking people who had nothing to do with the music business.
At one point, Gary was like, "Can you stop asking that question?"
It's adorable. It's endearing. Okay.
I mean, I figured because he had psychedelia in his music that he had possibly met Jerry Garcia.
What do you remember? What year were you born again? Seriously,
1975.
Okay. What do you remember psychedelic? You obviously weren't around, so how do you even know what that is?
Well, so I wasn't even into psychedelic music until I think it was my senior year in high school when a buddy of mine started playing the Grateful Dead for me.
Really?
And I immediately was drawn to the music and the drugs, but they all kind of went together. But before that, I was just into regular rock and roll.
What were you into in high school?
In terms of
junior high or high school, what kind of music?
I like Tom Petty, U2, even the Smiths. I have three older brothers, so my oldest brother, I was kind of influenced by what he listened to because I could never afford the tapes and stuff, and I would just hear what he was playing.
The tapes, not the record, not the vinyl, the tapes.
The tapes, yes. And then I did the same thing that everybody did, where you remember those services where you could order like 10 tapes. I forget what it's called.
Yeah, what was that? Could you remember?
Columbia Records.
That's
yes,
right,
and everybody owes the money still.
Nobody paid them.
Yeah. But yeah, what I like about like psychedelic music and stuff too is because it just goes anywhere, right? Like it's not like just played the same way each time. Every time it's different.
Well, I just couldn't listen to that if I wasn't stoned. You know that?
I mean, I get it.
Draw.
I mean, I still listen to it in recovery, but I don't know if it's as good as it was back.
No.
I don't know if it was as good as it was, but I'll tell you, I mean, it's an interesting form of music. It's a very interesting form of music.
Yeah, it's had its place, and
it's had its place.
It's and this guy, Mark Stein, was in the thick of it, man. What did he say? Whose show was he on? Did he say Johnny Carson? What show was he on? David Letterman? Johnny Carson? What do you?
I don't think I heard him say that.
Oh yeah, he was.
Really?
I can't remember which one he was on.
Because
I saw it today. I watched it.
Really?
I just can't remember whose show it was.
And that song, Keep Me Hanging On, I have heard that. For the longest time, I didn't know who was singing it, right? But like you hear that all the time still. And he's still out there playing and touring and everything.
That one hit, man.
One hit. Well, he's had more than that, right?
Yeah, that was the big one.
That was the big.
Yeah, that was the big one. It's like, that song Bye Bye American Pie or, by who did that again? Anyway, somebody asked that artist, what does that song mean to you? And he said, it means I never had to work again in my life.
Well, I wanted to
Don McLean.
I wanted to ask you that. These one-hit wonders that have one song that goes on, do those people just get rich? And
No. It has to all do with who owns the music, the publishing it's called.
Okay.
So an artist who's not very sophisticated or whatever, probably the lawyers own the music.
Oh.
They might get paid a certain amount every time it's played, penny or two. But the people that own the music are not necessarily the people who are performing the music.
Now, if they owned the music, they would just be rich.
It depends how big of a hit it was.
Yeah, because you hear of these artists that have one hit.
Yeah.
And then you never hear about them again. And I always wondered that. I guess they just get a check in the mail once a month or something.
Yeah. We don't have to worry about that, Mark.
I know.
Hey, I thought it was a good show, man.
Me too.
Great guest. Thank you. Tyler, thank you. Eric, thank you. Brad, of course, the main thrust behind all this. Remember, if you or a loved one is struggling with addiction, help is available, Mark. Call that 1-800-662-HELP number, 1-800-662-4355. 888-203-5857. For Clean and Sober Radio, I'm Gary Hendler.
I'm Mark Sigmund.
Thanks for joining us, and thank you again for all the support that you give us. That's a wrap.
I'd like to say thank you on behalf of the group and ourselves, and I hope we pass the auditioning.
Hey, thanks, everybody. Have a great, safe weekend, and we'll see you next week.